I got to put together a great story about one of Toledo's finest individuals, Mr. Clifford Murphy. So let's check that out right now. When you think about jazz in Toledo, Ohio, one of the first names that comes to mind is the great bass player Clifford Murphy. Born in 1932, the world lost this jazz great in November 2019, and he left behind a legacy of talent and compassion. Mr. Murphy was many things: a devoted family man, a Korean War vet, a legendary bass player, and vanguard for jazz in the community, and by all accounts, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
He was gracious and kind to any musician that was seasoned or unseasoned, any singer that was arrived or, trying to get there. But his kindness, extended far beyond the musicians and singers. Anyone he came in contact with, he was very kind to.
At the age of 8, Clifford had the chance to sit in on a rehearsal with the great Art Tatum. Then soon after, Clifford's aunt got him into music. But his real musical journey started after he returned from the Korean War.
And I think that story may have been told several times of his experience on getting his first bass. When he returned back from Korea, needed some clothes, his mom took him downtown on the bus, and on the way to the store to get clothes, he saw a big bass with all the accessories in the window, and that's what he spent his money on. And he bought that bass. His mom said, "How are you going to get this back home?" He said, "I'll walk it." And so he walked all the way home carrying the bass, the cover, the amp, everything.
After that, the fates collided, and Clifford connected with his lifelong musical partner, piano player Claude Black. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Clifford and Claude, they always had some kind of chemistry. They knew, what each other was doing and, how to be a couple of steps ahead of each other.
I think they met in church. That's what it was. They met in church, and he tells a story about how the both of them got kicked out of a church that they were playing for, and they were just rocking too hard, and he said the same crowd, he said some of the same crowd, followed him down to the jig joint, and they were really rocking in there. So that was his experience with Claude.
Then it was time for Clifford and the band to hit the road.
Started a band. I guess they called it the Murphys. Somehow he ran into Joan Russell, his lifelong partner, and she was the manager, but they traveled a lot.
They toured all over the country, and eventually Clifford and his longtime partner Joan Russell brought him back to Toledo and opened up Murphy's Place.
Jimmy Cobb came to town. And if you don't know, and that's the drummer who played with Miles Davis. And Joan welcomed me. 15 minutes later, she waves me up. She took care of the musicians. She brought us down front and put us right next to the bandstand to see the living legend. And that was the kind of place that Joan and Clifford ran.
Murphy's Place was a home of jazz for several years. But all good things must pass.
After more than 20 years, the downtown music club and restaurant, Murphy's Place, is closing its doors.
After Murphy's closed, that was, I think, one of the highlights of his career. He probably wouldn't, I don't know if he'd think that way, but for me, I thought he was so much more happy, because he just had to show up. Didn't have to worry about the restaurant portion of Murphy's Place or the bills to be paid, all of that.
Clifford spent the next several years enjoying time with his family and friends and playing gigs at his own pace. But eventually, poor health got the best of him. But of course, Clifford wrote it out with his typical grace and dignity.
Well, you know, the one thing I could say for sure is that he was always sharp-minded, you know, but he was always positive, you know, through all of the ups and downs. Dialysis, we ended up doing dialysis 3 times a week, but he kept a positive attitude. I don't know how he did it.
You know, I told people, here's a guy who, within a few months, he lost his partner, he lost his business. His longtime best friend and musical partner, Claude Black, he lost him. He had both his legs amputated, nerve damage in his arm, and that was all, you know, within 2 or 3 years or so. And I walk in and he wants to know how I'm doing. I mean,
we as a family could look at him and see, okay, well, this is how you live gracefully through it all, through ups and downs. And
Clifford passed away in 2019, and after his passing, Clifford's friends and family had one more jam session for him.
there was such a diverse group of people there, and you know, just people from all walks of life, all races, all ethnic, you know, backgrounds, all, you know, it didn't matter with Cliff.
Everyone said something that was really positive, really nice about him. Their choir sang the perfect song. He looked good. He was eulogized by Day, House of Day Funeral Home. It was just an awesome, and if you talk to anyone that attended, you will find that they were just blessed.
The jazz world lost a legend, but Clifford Murphy's legacy, both as a top-flight musician and a human being, will live on. All right, thanks to all the people involved in helping us put that story together. Clifford, you will always be missed.